We should be back. We should be ready to go. My apologies about that, guys. We had a bit of a stream issue that I can't go into, but problem resolved, guys. Ready when you both are. Thanks for pausing. These guys were quick. They were nice. They paused the game as soon as I said there was an issue.
Game resumed.
Alright, so back in action, you haven't missed a thing. We had the War Prison get cleaned up a moment ago for those who don't recall what was going on. New Nidus rooms are being established around the map, and of course his base still under assault from Locusts. So a small bit of a hiccup, but again, you guys didn't miss anything. Now this is kind of a cute Nidus worm. This is going to go straight to the island base, which is perfectly fine, perfectly weird, and I actually really like this Silhouette's doing this. Like, Silhouette, man, if you're watching the VOD of this game, you get mega extra Rifkin points, because if you guys have ever listened to me cast on Base Trade TV, I pull my hair out screaming, why do players not use the island bases? Now, for Silhouette's sake, this may not be a great move, because he's had a lot of Warp Prism harass hit him, which is something that's been going around the islands, and he will certainly scout this. But these are kind of safe bases outside of that one small regard, because there's no air toss coming out of Frost. Frost is focusing so heavily on these Locusts at the moment, as we see primarily Archons, Colossus, you name it. Even the Archons on the front lines are getting a little bit endangered here, as these shields are getting incredibly low. The Locust now gonna spawn out once again. We got some Blinding Clouds gonna need to go down. I'm not sure I love the choice of the Abducts, but it will get one of the Colossus in range to go down immediately. However, he doesn't focus and fire down. What? He retreats! Silhouette! They should have at least killed the Colossus with that. There's so many Colossus here on the front lines. There's no Corruptors behind this. No Blinding Clouds were thrown down. The Abducts were not effective in the end, and this is starting to push him back a little bit. Now, granted, there's so many Nidus Worms around the map. Losing this one is not the end of the world, but losing those Vipers certainly hurt quite a lot. Okay, those force fields absolutely corral everything. More Locusts on the way, though, and if we look at the bank here for Silhouette, guys, I mean, he's taking these losses, but he can kind of afford it, especially with two fresh, brand new bases on the way. Oh, that's not fully saturated. Oh, tisk. For Frost, though, let's be honest, guys, this is kind of that Death Ball scary stage. I mean, there's just so much here. It's going to eventually be chipped away at, but there's just not enough swarm hosts yet. He keeps getting caught with a lot of these force fields too, but the buffer, the meat for this army is starting to dissipate. The force fields are starting to run out. The Archons have mostly died out. There's no Zealots to be seen. And these Stalkers, well, they've got Blink, but they've not been able to exactly blink on top of the swarm hosts like you would normally like to see. One single Zergling chipping away at the Nexus diligently down here, but does Frost know about the islands? No. So he doesn't know about the island bases yet. He's so focused here in the middle of the map, and that's perfectly fine. Colossus are focused down this time. Good Abducts come out of Silhouette. And quite frankly, these units, they're just doing what they can to hang on. More Locusts popping out relentlessly, endlessly. Resources lost right now. Not at all looking like the OP number that we usually see coming out of these, but now we've got Corruptors in the mix. We got some Vipers here on the front lines, and we're going to see more Abducts. We're going to see some Blinding Clouds. But the first Abduct goes off. The second Abduct goes off. However, most of the Locusts actually died as this was happening, so a little unfortunate there with the timing. Still, Blinding Clouds would not be too bad of an idea at this point. A lot of this is the Stalkers starting to deal a lot of the damage, not so much the Colossus, as they have been dwindled down to 4. I believe started the fight with 7. Meanwhile, the island bases, while established, have not started building anything yet. And what's really nice, too, is even if he doesn't use this island base at all, like, if he doesn't build a single thing out of this, this is a 300 mineral block with a ton of freaking creep. That means Frost himself will never take one of these secret island bases. Now, without having to dedicate some forces to clean up the hatchery as well as the creep. Blink Stalkers, once again, jumping into the front lines here. These swarmos are always unburrowed. Of course, you want to unburrow them and move them. Like, I give big props to Frost in that regard. Like, he's being very active with them, not setting them and forgetting them. But then he burrows them and forgets them. So I'm not sure what is happening in that regard, but Silhouette's in a pretty good spot, I would say. Frost has got to work for this, and he's working pretty hard. Credit where credit's due. But as we see the Blink Stalkers, again, like, you can't even send the Corruptors to the front lines. You can't send this Vipers directly in. There's not a lot of feedbacks available, granted, but it's still the fact that the Stalkers just have such immense focus fire. Coming up with possibly the latest +3 weapons, by the way, level 3 and armor for both weapons coming up in here in just a second's time. This is going to make Frost a lot harder to deal with. Again, let's not forget Silhouette's sitting on very low upgrades himself. Still on 1. Oh, sorry, he did get level 2 weapon upgrades, so take that back. But level 1 Carapace. So his Locusts are just kind of melting to these level 3 like it's nothing at at all. We do have Stargate starting to come out here, and this is kind of the right response. It's not the best response necessarily this late. I still stand firmly strong in saying that the Warp Prism is probably the best way to get around Swarm Host. Blink Stalkers, maybe some Tempest mixed in, but primarily the Warp Prism is going to be your best bet for shutting down Swarm Hosts, because they can't react properly. I mean, I don't know if Frost has just forgotten how effective those Warp Prism Zealots were earlier on, or maybe he's just focused on this Death Ball. But for the time being, while this is fine for sort of meandering, you want to build a bank behind this, and he's not even really doing that too well. I mean, it's getting started now that he's finally maxed out, but as we see, a lot of what's coming out for Silhouette is going to be great at dealing with this. We got some, Infestors for some fungal growth, some Infested Terrans maybe in the mix. Keep these Blink Stalkers from blinking backwards. Use the Locust to much better effect. Oh, we still have a probe down here. I still like the island bases. I do wish you would saturate them, though. I mean, you don't need to be mining from anywhere else if you get those island bases up. But Blink Stalkers walk behind everything. You know what? This is going to be just as dandy as the idea of a Warp Prism, because they get past everything here. They're going to snipe off this base. They'll blink away. We even have a second amount section towards the main. And let's not forget, he could use the Nidus Swarm to go home. What is he? He's not doing it. Alright, well, good burrow on the Infestors here, so they're not going to die right away to these Stalkers, but it's worth noting, guys, this is a lot of Stalkers to deal with. The Greatest Fire is going to go down so quickly, the Infestation Pit will fall, this hatchery did die, and there's just really nothing that's going to deal with this too effectively. Blink Stalkers are just going to pick off all of the tech. This is a really fantastic move out of Frost. If he gets this hive, oh god, if he gets this hive, he will get this hive. That's going to really set Silhouette back, because he's lost so much of his tech. Now, he starts building an Infestation Pit right away, granted. But it's not like he has a lair he can turn into a hive. He can't replace this very easily. There's not going to be another Greater Spire for a good time. And that's going to buy Frost all the time in the world he needs to get that Air Toss army ready. The Sky Toss composition that was so far away before, but now on his... I guess on his fingertips? I don't think Silhouette can actually make anything right now. The Roach Wardens died, the Spawning Pool's died, there was never a Hydralisk dead, the Spire's gone, he's losing Overlords. I really think he can't build anything other than drones at the moment. Now, the Stalkers are going to die, finally, granted. But he did so much damage with those two Stalkers, absolutely worthwhile. Downside is, doesn't know about these island bases. Frost in the middle of the map, not looking too shabby. Both players kind of disengaged after that. It's funny to see a player with so much money be unable to make a single unit, because it's just the way that ended up panning out. Now, it's kind of important. We have what I feel is way too many Colossus out of Frost right now. The Colossi count is so high that it's actually taking away from other more potentially better units. So, for example, more Archons, more Blink Stalkers, more Void Rays, and more importantly, a Warp Prism maybe in somewhere in the mix. But this anti-air out of Frost is just non-existent. Quite frankly, a remax of Corruptors, if he had a Spire, again, this big if, would make all the difference in the world, but doesn't and can't. Coming forward here, though, looks to take a fight. The force fields are still good. If we can give credit to Frost for one thing this game, above all else, it would be his force fields. He's had fantastic ones so far this game. The Archons even providing some splash damage to the top of the Corruptors. Swarmos are starting to die out, and I want to remind you all, Frost has kept Silhouette from being able to make anything by picking off all that tech. No spawning. Well, the spawning pool just finished, actually. But there's no way to make more Swarm Hosts. Actually, you know what? He can't. I take that back. Infestation Pit to clean up. But that's the only unit he can make right now. Maybe Infestors as well, but those aren't going to be the best option by any means, any stretch of the imagination. Quite frankly, it's a bit odd to say, but what he really needs is a big wave of Corruptors. Just knock out those units, turn them into Broodlords later, but there's just, I don't know, the Archon count looks like it was enough that first time. Let's not forget Fungal Growth will hold a good chunk of this army in place. The Infestors are still going to die, though, because the scumbag Locust pushed them into the front lines. However, despite those fungal growths, not a lot actually dies for this, and the Locusts and the Swarm Hosts dissipate very quickly. So back on the retreat again is Silhouette. Blink Stalkers can blink forward and get on top of these. Yep, there we go. One snipe, two snipes. Gets the Infestor as well. Not looking too good here for Silhouette. Starting to struggle a little bit, I feel. His bank is still looking strong, but he's double layering. I mean, you only really do this if you're panicking. If you're like, oh man, I need to get tech up. Because I think he already has a layer, right? Yeah, he's already got a layer. So he's making two more. Hive now on the way. This is just fear, and he's right to be scared. He doesn't have a lot of army available to him right now. In fact, we look at the drone count right now. It's down to 41, and he still should have a bigger army supply than that of his opponent, but yet doesn't. Corruptors will pick off one of the Colossus finally, but again, because there's no upgrades in this, it really makes these hit not so hard. But okay, the Locusts doing what they can. A big abduct to the Colossus. He gets a snipe. I don't know. This is just about as awkward as it gets. Sorry, I had to confirm something's going on. There's some stream issues, guys. We're taking care of them, though. Don't worry. Luckily, the stream is still functioning, and that's the bottom line, so you guys can still see what's going on. But yeah, the Colossi count is a little bit out of control, if we're going to be honest. Something he's not been able to deal with. He's not been able to tame it, so to speak. It's been a small issue, not a significant one, but still a frustrating one nonetheless. But the Swarm Hosts. Oh boy, the Swarm Hosts. We got another Nidus Worm coming out. Again, I really like the Ace Island bases, but he's not fully utilizing them. I mean, all the drones should be over there. All the drones! Because still, Frost has not scouted either of these bases. You know, this is... I don't know, this is just, it's awkward to see, because on one hand, you're kind of like, you gotta give it to a Silhouette. He's like holding off this unstoppable army, but on the other hand, it's like, Frost! You've got so many freaking Colossi, just push and kill things! Actually, is there Storm behind this finally? No, there's still no Storm Tech behind this either, so that's one big criticism out of Frost. Like, if you really want to push back these waves, if you want to annihilate some clumped up Corruptors, one Archon Blast, a couple of Storms on top of it, but instead he lets himself constantly get abducted. The Locusts try and focus fire down on top of this, the Corruptors want to go back in, but a little bit scared, rightfully so. But the Void Rays are perhaps the scariest thing right now, is there's just simply not the anti-air to deal with this. They focus these down, prismatically aligned, they charge up and deal so much damage! And even the Swarm Hosts are armored, so I mean, everything here is just going to go down. We even have the Queen trying to get involved with the fight. The Spore Crawler is actually dealing a ton of damage from the ground. Frost definitely, I don't know why he sent those so far away from his army. That's the definition of overextended, folks. But I don't know. It's hard to be overly critical of either of these players. Both of them making very strange choices, but yet both of them still trading out mostly equally. Like, seriously, less than, what was that, 400, 1,000 something resources separate these two? Forget math on stream, yo. Well, the Dark Shrine on the way. This might change things up a little bit. It's worth noting that Frost's primary, or sorry, not Frost, rather, Silhouette's primary form of detection has been these Spore Crawlers. Not really any Overseers in sight. But the Broodlords are going to start changing the dynamic of this quite a bit, as they're going to be that sort of extra layer. On top of this, though, preparing for the Broodlord transition, we got a Fleet Beacon on the way, so we're going to start having 3 Stargates, which means 3 Tempests at a time, which means they're going to one-shot the Broodlords, because Tempests have that sweet, sweet bonus damage versus Massive. Why are these filtering like this? It's like the worst way you could send these in here. What is... fix your rally, Silhouette, please! It's so painful to watch. A bit of a standoff down here. I guess Frost just kind of not wanting to fight the Lings not wanting to fight Frost. The scary thing about the Broodlords too is like the Blink Stalkers could technically blink underneath them. This is why we have the Spinecrawler wall, and this is why you have the Swarm Host with the Locust to push those back to make sure that they can't blink forward. But at the same time, in the same token, Silhouette really should have a bigger bank than he does at the moment. Again, he's had all these bases to abuse. He's only just now getting this one back up. It's been a slow haul for our Zerg player. But hold up at his base now, trying to do what he can. I don't even. I'm just trying to think of what to commentate at this point. I mean, if I can be honest, I'm frustrated with both players. Like, you got Frost, who's like, I don't know. He's finally making Blink Stalkers again, which I like. As we saw, sniped off a base. These were things that dive past an entire army and killed every single tech building of his opponent once before. He's not invested in the War Prism. He has no idea about these island bases still. But at the same time, Silhouette's not really using these island bases. It's like, dude, put some drones on those bases. Get your economy going. Get this massive bank you could just trade out to win with. But Colossus are filtering everything here. The Locusts come in and they just can't fight. Blink Stalker's still getting some pretty good use. Catching a lot of these spine cars before they can burrow, actually. It's actually quite a costly loss there. Well, I don't know, guys. This is going to be one of those long games, and I just feel like it shouldn't be. But it's going to be, so I hope you're all buckled in and ready for the long haul here, because at the rate this is going, we could be here for quite some time. The Tempests are finally out, which can help a little bit, but their massive range doesn't make up for their incredibly slow rate of fire against Locust waves. Again, a lot of this is kind of the Colossus combined with the Blink Stalkers blinking backwards, but Frost, I don't know, send anything off to the side. Build a War Prism, man. Get her done. Why were these made? At what point did Silhouette say, hey, you know what's going to be a great idea? Let's make some Banelings. Because you know what? If my Locust can't break through this, my Banelings might be able to. I mean, the idea is cool if he uses this for worker harass. If he goes to a base down here which is incredibly exposed or only protected by cannons. But no, he's just kind of chilling, having a Baneling party. Is the triple hooks even done? There's not even Banelings made! Silhouette, you're killing me here, man! You bust them up! Ah! Frost is getting stronger and stronger as time goes on, but it's worth noting Silhouette still doesn't have a lot of upgrades going for him. He does have level 3 ranged weapons, which is nice, but he doesn't have a lot of actual physical tech to work with. We do see some storms starting to come down, and we have Abducts starting to go off a little bit. Broodlords, of course, are now frenzied units, guys, worth noting. This doesn't affect them in the slightest, it just means they can't be abducted. And they weren't affected by Time Warp anyways in the first place, but now he's starting to snipe off some of the Colossus. This is what I'd like to see. But the Tempests, for some reason, are focusing on the freaking Spore Crawlers, and Tempests have bonus damage versus massive. Kill the Broodlords! It takes one shot from 3 Tempests to kill a Broodlord. It hits for 80. Broodlords have 225 health. I don't even need to do math on stream to tell you how easy that is. But because he's lost so many, he hasn't focused the Broodlords at all. He hasn't worried about the Corruptors. He's been so focused, tunnel visioned on these Locusts, he's starting to bleed out the one thing that's been keeping them back, and it's the Colossus. There's 10 Dark Templar. Where are these coming in at? Oh my lord. Oh my lord, where did those just warp in? Down here. Okay, so this is what I was talking about before. There's really no detection anywhere. These are just going to eviscerate and massacre every building that he has at home. The DPS on them is too high. You can't stop them. They hit for like 60 with 3, no, I have 55. I don't know. I don't play Protoss enough, but they hit like trucks. They're basically immortals. We got carriers coming up behind this. Don't love this move. You're playing against a player who's got abducts, lines of spore crawlers, and corruptors already. Carriers are not the route to go. But a lot of this game has been not the route to go for both these players. So who am I to criticize? He's gonna lose this base up here to the north. He's gonna lose the base over here to the left. But ironically and strangely enough, that's okay because he's got these island bases he's not using. Ah! Frost, though, is kind of on a clock here, guys. Not by any means of the bank, but he's racing against time now. He's kind of forcing Silhouette to be in the situation where Silhouette's no longer going to be able to sit back and play passive. He's picked off enough tech. He's picked off the hives and the hatcheries. All of a sudden, now Silhouette's in a situation where he's going to have to fight. Actually, as I say this, he's still at home defending with these Broodlords. But he did send some over here to the left side of the map. This base, though, completely mined out. So sniping this base gains him no advantage whatsoever. In fact, killing the probes at this point would probably do his opponent a favor, who's been sitting at 80 supply and workers when really he only needs 40. So it would give him more army supply to fight the Locusts with. So Silhouettes, you're helping you're helping your opponent right now, bro. I mean, you're really not doing anyone favors. Maybe if he killed the gases or the gas mining probes at the very least, but no, not the case. Probes transferred over here to the top right. They run through a wave of locusts, somehow survive. But there's nothing left for this locust to attack. The locust to attack. There's some. Actually, there's a lot of Templar storms. Whoa! We just lost every Templar. There was like 7 Templar with full freaking energy. 2 storms apiece, and they all go down. There's like nothing on the ground to hit though. This is kind of the ironic downside because like this locust army becomes less effective if there's nothing for them to fight. If there's nothing for them to attack. Coming up here, we're getting very close to the 1 hour mark, guys, and we finally have the Tempest starting to shoot some of the air units instead of the freaking broodlings and the locusts. But Blinkstock is once again over here to the left. The hive is going to fall once more. We don't have these island bases having any tech whatsoever on them. We don't have layer even so much. We got the Greater Spire going down in a moment's time. And once again, Silhouette will find himself in a situation where he cannot build anything whatsoever. Well, granted, Silhouette and Frost have put on a game that wasn't passive. We can give them that much. These Broodlords should actually not be coming back home because the Blink Stalkers are going to do bonus damage to the Broodlords and shoot them down real quick, but he's not responding, so he just ends up eating the Broodlings instead. Frost, though, still with a Void Ray count. You know, with 11 Void Rays under your command, you're going to find yourself very hard-pressed to be shut down by Swarm Hosts by any means. Corruptors aren't going to get much done. They're going to get melted by the prismatically aligned Void Rays. Fungal Growths, ironically enough, would be the best way to shut this army down. But he didn't make any more infestors! And he's lost his infestation pit! His lair as well. Alright, well, you know what? This is just one of those games where I think logic is so far out the window. This is one of those games where information is irrelevant. And what kills me still is Frost. Guys, this is the one thing. It's not even the Swarm Host. It's not even the stupid Templars going down. It's the fact that he's got an air army and he doesn't know about the island bases still. He has not a clue. All he has to do is accidentally float slightly to the right and he'll see the edge of the creep and go, oh man, I wonder where he's getting money from. I keep sniping off all his bases, but he keeps making more units. How's this possible? Just move slightly to the right and you'll find out, my friend. I'm weeping. I'm openly weeping at this point. It's not even physically painful, but for some reason I'm crying. It's like watching The Notebook. It's just really sad. Okay, well, bottom line here, guys, for Frost, if he takes out those island bases, he really would stop what little income Silhouette has left. I mean, let's assess the map for a moment. He's got a new hatchery on the way. I don't know why he would think it's safe to build a hatchery next to the air army of Frost, but you know what, Silhouette? He's got some balls, kids, and no one can tell him otherwise. The Corruptor count's too low to engage, and he knows it. Too scared to go in while this prismatic alignment's going on. He does abduct a couple Void Rays. That is actually a really slick move. But it actually, you gotta, this is real talk for a moment, guys, all silliness aside. When you do abducts like this, you cannot panic and abduct 5 or 6 units at the same time. That, in fact, hurts you more than helps you. Because your DPS is spread too thin, you can't kill the units that you abduct. Whereas you abduct one, count to 1 in your head, like 1 Mississippi, and then abduct another, you will have killed those 2 units. Whereas if you abduct them both at the same time, chances are your DPS is so split, you can't kill either. The Nexus finally goes down, but Frost has a bank still. He can continue making units, and his air army looks unopposed. But still. The island bases! He doesn't know! Dark Templar, heading down the left side of the map, once again looking for a fight. He's going to pick up the last couple hatcheries that are still available on the main part of the field. And I swear to you, God, guys, if these guys go to like the 1.5 hour minute mark, and he hasn't found the island bases, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Well, Dark Templar are getting the job done. Zealots still darting around the map. I don't know. This is where, like, if this was my stream, and not like a Blizzard stream, we start getting ridiculous with music. We make some bad jokes, maybe go watch some YouTube videos together. But it's Blizzard, and I can't, and copyright, etc. So at the moment, I mean, if we're gonna be honest, I really don't think Silhouette's got a good chance left at this point. If his corruptor count was higher, now granted, he is making more corruptors. If he had saturated the island bases, which he's finally doing, if any number of little other things had happened this game, this may look a little bit different. But Silhouette at this point, man, I mean, he's got an army lead, but it's not an effective one. I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna drink some water. That's what I'm gonna do. So hang on. Here's enjoy the zoom out. We're gonna follow the Protoss army. Practice ventriloquism, I guess. Yep. Turns out I can't talk. I can't talk while drinking water. Practice my whistling. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding. The nanophone. Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing. Banana phone. I've got this feeling. It's so appealing. Let's get together and sing. Sing. Alright, so what you guys just witnessed there was a massacre, because the Void Rays deal so much damage the Corruptors don't have a chance. Fighting on top of the Spore Crawler should have been advantageous for Silhouette, but again, the prismatic alignment, with or without it, is just way too strong. The sad irony right now, though, is Frost lost his only observer, so he's got two down here. If he moves them northwards, he can kill the Swarm Hosts. But as it currently stands, he can't see the Swarm Hosts. He can only see the freaking locusts that spawn from them. Well, the last couple things are going to die here in the middle of the map, and the prismatic alignment has been popped, so anything armored in the area needs to get the heck away. It's basically like a nuke coming down. But the Broodlords are getting Broodlorded. The Void Rays are doing the Void Ray thing. And quite frankly, this is Frost's game to lose. He literally has to throw it at this point. There's no air. There's Mutalisks on the way, and sometimes a Mutalisk swap can be fantastic. But hark and alert! There's no real upgrades for them, but one level of air weapon upgrades. Why did he unburrow? He's been safe there for the last 20 minutes. He's had Void Rays literally camping above him. And at this point he says, you know what? Let's reposition ourselves. A bit of funny irony actually right now, guys, at the fact that Silhouette's just lost his only main Nidus Worms. So these two Nidus Worms he currently have, they can only transfer from base to base. Not that he needs them to do anything else, of course. Because Frost will never know. It's our little secret, and Frost will never know. I mean, I don't even know, like, Silhouette, much respect to this guy. He started the game strong. I like the way this recovered. Like, if we can rewind an hour at this point, guys, let's remember the fact that he lost the third base very early on. He opened this game as greedy as humanly possible. He took so much damage in the early game, and yet still managed to recover to take the game to 1 hour and 3 minutes. So while Silhouette may lose, and maybe he needs to refine his late game tactics, define what aggression is for him and whatnot, I gotta give him props, though. Honestly, all joking aside, he started this game off well for how poorly it went from him in the early game. But Fungal Growth of Void Rays, please, God! Thank you! What a money Fungal! Look at that, he hits every Void Ray but two! That's 20 Void Rays he just landed in a Fungal Growth! Now, it's worth noting, and we're gonna be serious for a second, this is a learning moment, guys. If you fungal a Void Ray, well, GG is called. If you fungal a Void Ray, it's actually got less range than a Queen. You can use a Queen to kill fungal Void Rays, and with no repercussions. But that's it, that's game number 1, ladies and gentlemen, gonna go to Frost. And this is the best of 3. It's the best of 3. That's okay. All fun times to say is we're gonna play commercial break. I think I've earned at least a 2-minute rest on my voice. I'm gonna drink some water, recuperate, and mentally prepare for game 2. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Copa America, StarCraft2, Copa America. The break.
Oh, I wish I was, and the cotton, old times they were not forgotten. Look away, look away, Dixieland. Oh, I wish I was in Dixie, away, away, in Dixieland. I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie, for Dixieland. That's where I was born, early, Lord, one frosty morning. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. Glory, 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 hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. His truth is marching on. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. You know your daddy's is bound to die. But all my trials, Lord, will soon be over.
Alright, welcome back, guys. So we just kind of had that abrupt leave and joy, and I actually have to go update the scores here real quick because I forgot. The way they had me do it for this tournament is a bit odd, a bit strange. So where is player name on the left? +1. Nailed it! Alright, that looks good. So welcome back to Copa America. Hashtag SC2 Copa America if you're on Twitter. You know what? Do me a favor, guys. Get on Twitter right now and just hashtag Copa America or hashtag SC2 Copa America, and all you gotta do is put WTF. was that game. We'll talk more about the players' opinions and such in a moment, though. For now, spawning in the top left corner of the map, it is our blue Zerg player from Crossfire Gaming, the blue Zerg Silhouette. And his opponent in the bottom left, his name is Frozt. He's red, he's Protoss. I was going to say language, please. Now, all jokes aside, seriousness, if we can take anything away from that game, again, we should look at the positives and not the negatives, because both players, while we were in the lobby for this one, were definitely going over the negatives of what was going on in that game. But, I mean, honestly, I really like the way both Frost opened that game. He identified that his opponent in game number 1 had played greedy, and he punished him for it. Something you rarely see in PvZ. Oftentimes, you're forced to just match greed with greed because anything else doesn't work. Same thing being said, though, Silhouette, you know, he lost that third so early. He played as greedy as possible, and he was punished for it, but still recovered. And there were multiple points in that hour-long game where he possibly could have actually won, had he maybe done one or two things slightly differently. So I have no idea how this particular game is going to go, if they've got the same things in mind, if there's going to be just sheer stupidity once again. Whatever the case may be, I know for a fact that these guys have got the moxie to at least play a good game if given the opportunity. And that's what I'm really got my fingers crossed for. You know what? I said let's get you guys this hashtag. I'm going to do it too. There we go. I even went out and tweeted. Look at Rifkin getting all involved in things. Anyways, as far as openings go to Frost, I do like this one. It's a little more standard. I'm personally not a fan of watching Forge fast expands or fast expands out of Forges. I really, and this is going to make so many people upset, I am a big fan of the cannon rushes when executed correctly. I think Frost is one of the most fantastic maps for it. You stick the double pylon here on the top of this glyph, put the one cannon here, bring the second probe, start putting cannons on the low ground. It's such a minimal investment, but it's absolutely worthwhile if it keeps your opponent off of extra bases for a long time. But having not gone for that, Frost has limited himself to just playing defensive for the time being. And maybe it's because part of me just remembers the majority of Wings of Liberty, where, like, and I'm sure some of you guys remember, like, it was Forge Fast Expand every game. You could close your eyes that you could cast those games. PvZ was a dull match to watch. It's come a long way, though. Ling Hydra's changed it up quite a bit, especially with the Hydra's buff of recent times. The recent patch that hit, by the way, guys, I really don't foresee a way it's going to impact this matchup. For those who don't know, again, as of today, like literally like 5 hours ago, they implemented the patch that makes it so Hellbats can transform and Broodlords can no longer be moved, aka abducted. They don't gain any other benefits. There's no damage bonus, there's no defensive bonus, it just simply means they can't be abducted. Because Protoss players can't abduct anything in the first place, it's good to go. As far as Protoss goes, I don't think they actually received any changes whatsoever in this patch, so this matchup, for the most part, will be the same as it is. Now, I'm referencing Ling Hydra because I personally like watching it a lot more than Ling or Hydra Roach. Hydra Roach, really, I feel like it's a defensive play that comes off of the fact of someone open Phoenix or something versus you, but I mean, for the most part, Silhouette's just playing it pretty close to the cuff for the time being. He's got, or close to the vest, rather. He's got speed on the way. He's going to be able to get some units out if he gets aggressed upon. That's a terrible way to phrase that, but deal with it. My brain is still dead after game number 1. But the thing is, like, with Metabolic Boost on the way, you might not be using Lings right now. Hell, you might not use Lings for the next 20 minutes in the game, but speed Lings are the easiest things to reinforce on in the late game. When you've thinned out your opponent's army where they've only just barely got stuff remaining, sending out 80 Lings all of a sudden can absolutely swamp and overrun your opponent. And there are Zerg builds, especially versus Protoss, that involve not getting Metabolic Boost, skipping that in favor of Roach Warrens, in favor of getting the Roach speed out sooner, getting upgrades out. So, incorporating this, it provides utility for later on. Now, he did just finish up these extra geysers, and with 4 geysers, there's the possibility of Mutalisk. This is a pretty quick layer. If it's going to be Mutalisk, I really like Mutas for this map. I think Frost is a great map to go Mutas on, and it is going to be the Spire. So, Silhouettes could have a pretty decent chance to come back in this game, I'd say, just based off his build order alone. However, Frost, on the other hand, can't ignore what he's doing. He's got +1 weapons finishing up in a moment's time. He's going to have a Warp Prism. And he would, technically, if he wants to get aggressive, hit before Mutalisks are ready to go. But a Twilight Council's coming up, which says he might be delaying this a little bit longer. I was kind of hoping to see, rather than a Twilight Council, maybe 6 or 7 gateways, but with 3 in total, he can still pause and do a little bit of aggression. There is a handy trick. If you guys have ever seen a player from Samsung Galaxy named Trent, and I always reference him because honestly, honestly, out of the hundreds of players I've cast in StarCraft 2, I've never seen anyone do it better than him. Where he'll put down the pylon, he'll go 3 gateways, it's not even an all-in, it's just like 7 zealots without upgrades, it's even better with upgrades, can tear down a third base like nobody's business. And on a map like Frost, you don't have to put the pylon right here. Hell, you don't even have to put the pylon right here. You can put the pylon up on this cliff, for goodness sake. There's actually another player playing in this tournament who's notorious for doing precisely that. If you guys see any Huck games tonight, regardless of who he's playing against, keep an eye out for pylons on this ledge if it's Frost, because he does it all the time and it works out fantastically. And there's good reason for it. Changeling's picked off over there. But yeah, so the War Prism is going to come across. This is something similar that we had Frost do in game number 1. The difference is this time, though, it's so limited in damage. Yeah, the Zealots are going to load. Maybe they'll kill the Queen. Hell, maybe they'll even kill a drone or 2. But the Mutalisks were missing from last game. They were not here. They were not ready. The War Prism will get sniped off pretty much immediately. And anything that comes out of it, it's not going to do a whole lot either. Even if he warps in Stalkers, for goodness sake, it's going to be such a low count. But what Silhouette does need to do is evacuate the drones for the time being. Just minimize losses. It's not even about continuing to mine. Yeah, with the Mutalisks here, he'll eventually clean it up. But leaving the drones on the mineral lines, definitely a mistake for the time being. So decides to evacuate them. He's going to lose a couple. Not the end of the world, though. 5 drones when you're at about 48, 57. Not too shabby. And as we see, the Mutalisks make quick work of everything here. Mutalisks are a bit of a problem right now in PV or ZV anything, really, if used correctly and if they can get up to that crazy critical mass number. But, I mean, what's going to be out here? He can make some Archons, I suppose, with the Dark Templar. He's getting Blink, which is not a terrible choice. But quite frankly, if you see Mutalisks, most of the time you want to go Phoenix. It's going to be just like, they're units that are strictly designed to counter Mutalisks in their just basic simplicity. But he picks off a cannon for now. It's a nice choice actually out of Frost to do this. Actually, it's not in the main. That's going to suck a little bit. The cannons won't ever stop Mutalisks outright, not unless you've got an excessive amount, like you're playing a tower defense or something, but they'll deter them. They'll buy the Stalkers time to warp in, to blink up, to get to the position they need to be. But going mass Mutalisks like this, 2 big dangers present themselves. 1, typically with your Mutalisks, you're busy being aggressive. You're not at the home defending. You're not going to have these on your side of the map to stop warp-ins. And again, I reference if there's pylons over here, could be a bit of a problem. But there's not. Frost is locked pretty heavily into his base. In fact, if we look at the vision, he actually can't see anything outside of his immediate base. The Mutalisk count is growing pretty rapidly here, and we do have a Stargate coming up, but one Stargate production isn't going to cut it. Archons are probably going to be a lot better than Storms will be. I don't know if he's thinking about Storms or not, but he should definitely not be. The cannons are dealing an apt amount of damage to these, though. He has lost a couple of mutas in that fight. The idea behind this is, like, you don't want to be losing any of these. You're just going to pick off one unit, get out, regen, stack up, go back for round 2. But picks off another Stalker or 2 here in the main. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Actually blinks away back towards the cannon. Really like that move. But there's still no Archons available, and this kind of bothers me a little bit, because right now, our Protoss player's floating a lot of gas. Something he can certainly afford to spend on a couple DTs, or High Templar for that matter. Blink Stalkers are not bad, but as we see, they're not good either is the problem. And these Mutalisks are starting to get a little bit out of hand. The big Blink Stalker from the Naturals does manage to get up here to the main, so that's going to start changing things all around just a little bit. But see the Dark Shrine, too, is a bit of a headache at the same time. While there's no Dark Templars yet, it's the possibility of having them later that makes it so scary. And he actually gets out with the majority of these Mutalisks unscathed. He did lose again, like another 5, I think, during that engagement. Yeah, so he's only down to 20. He's only down to 23, as weird as that is to say. But the big thing is, of course, Mutalisks with that innate regen. These things will be full health again in no time. So round 2 is not too far off. But the Baneling Nest, again, we had a Silhouette kind of go for these last game. This actually might work out not too poorly. Hear me out on this. This sounds crazy, I know. But there's not been any force fields or sentries made to stop these Mutalisks. He's been investing primarily in Blink Stalkers, Double Stargate, and Phoenix production. As weird as it is to say, while the Stalkers can focus down the Banelings, chances are they could just bust through the front door, or if all the Stalkers are in the main chasing the Mutalisks, they just waddle past this cannon and go straight for the mineral line. I don't like the idea of the Banelings, but they do have a pretty good use if utilized correctly. Now, one big thing we do see is the Corruptors coming out. Mutalisk Corruptor, I feel, if handled correctly, even against Phoenixes that have the Anion Pulse Crystal upgrade, which these do not. For those who don't know what I'm referencing here, it's an ability that gives the Phoenix an additional 2 range. I think Mutalisk Corruptor beats out Phoenixes every single time when handled correctly. A big part of this is just because this combination regen, but the fact that the Corruptors come with base armor of, like, I think is it 2? I think it's 2. Hang on, he just spawned a couple. Oh, of course, right. It's the Blizzard UI. I can't look at that. But yeah, they come with like base armor too. It's more than any other unit, and it's unusually large. So what this means is Phoenixes that normally hit for 5 really don't touch the Corruptors. So the idea is you just keep the Corruptors between the Phoenix and your Mutalisks, and while they don't exactly one-shot a Phoenix, they'll keep the Phoenixes from auto-attacking your Mutas, which is priority numero uno. Actually, supply blocks Frost here quite a bit. That's going to be frustrating to deal with. Bleeds out a couple of Mutalisks on the retreat, but look at these Zerglings. If these Stalkers come out into the open, if they get away from the secure Sim City that's been set up in the main, he's going to have a really bad time. But again, there's no force fields here to keep these out, so they swarm on top of everything. The Mutalisks will actually take the fight. They're not going for harass anymore. Silhouette's looking to make work happen. Focusing down top, the Phoenix is perhaps a bit of a small mistake. He could have gone for those Stalkers, but the Lynx chase everything back to the main. The Mutalisk counts down to 26. I think he had about 30 coming into this. Not a big deal, though, because these Lynx can still run by and just go to the natural, kill the cannons, but they're sitting here idly instead. He can make the weak ones into Banelings if you wanted to. Carapace upgrades are on the way, and 12 more Mutalisks are about to reinforce. This is not going to look so good here for Frost in a moment's time. And with the Banelings, I'm really curious to see how he utilizes these. I don't think they're going to get too much use if we're going to be completely blunt, but if he can make them happen, hey, that'd be cool, I guess. One of the things he's going to be able to do, too, is, like, it's the same logic against Roaches. We're seeing Banelings utilized against Roaches more and more now, and it's not because they deal any bonus damage, because they don't, but it's about the splash damage they'll bring to the fight. The Mutalisk count is kind of out of control, and quite frankly, this is Silhouette's game. Silhouette is in such a magnificent spot right now. If Frost had a third, if he was bouncing back and forth between the natural and the third, maybe he's got the economy to hold on to this, right? But look at the army supplies. He can't build anything, is the bottom line. The Stalkers get out and catch these Mutalisks a little off guard, but here come the Banelings without any speed, waddling forward. Now we got some force fields going down, but oh my god, are these actually going to connect? They're actually killing Blink Stalkers. Stalkers are not blinking away from the Banelings, but they're blinking into the Mutalisks. Good game is called. Silhouette we'll take the series now 1-1, and we'll go to game number 3. Whoop whoop. Alright, game number 3, map number 3. What is it going to be? Habitation Station. Oh god, another Swarm House good map. Alright guys, well, we've got that to look forward to. Thank you guys who hashtag Copa America. WTF was that game, by the way. And yeah, we'll be back with the next game in a moment's time. See you very shortly. Alright, sorry, the black screen was there because I was trying to figure out... Again, I'm not using XSplit for this. So OBS newbie Rifkin over here. There we go. We got the score set up now. It is tied up 1-1. This is StarCraft2 Copa América. This is the this is still a first match of the day as we get to the end of this best of 3. I shudder and I cringe because this is a great map for Swarm hosts. We'll see if that ends up being the case or not. Spotted here at the top right corner of the map, though. It is from Crossfire Gaming, the blue Zerg player Silhouettes, and his opponent to the top left, from the last of the Mohicans. I did look that back up. That was the clan name. It is the Red Protoss Frozt. Frozt. Actually, there's a Croatian player named Frozt who I really enjoy, and I'm trying not to say his name when I introduce this dude. But big props to Silhouette right there. He just did something very, very small, but something I really actually got to give some respect for. He checked for proxies. You come into game 3 like this, you expect, like, okay, you just had the weirdest macro game into, like, this mutilist sort of spiral out of control death ball. You would, don't lag out on me, Frost. I can't handle this. You guys have given me so much strafe at this point. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you gotta expect there's a little bit of a chance of cheese here in the last game, the last series. Frost looks like he's having a bit of an issue right now, so maybe might want to pause. Or we just recover game, I guess.
Game paused.
Yeah, okay, he's just waiting a sec here. So, we're gonna give him a moment, of course. Rightfully so. You want to have a good game, a good last game, especially out of these two. You don't want to have them go at it while one's lagging like a crazy guy.
Game resumed.
But okay, looks like we're going to go back at it. And fingers are crossed this works out. Guys, if you could do me a favor, by the way, so we brought this up during the break screen. There is no Team Liquid listing at the moment because there's some issues with information on that. There's a Reddit thread. Do me a favor, it's the next best thing that we can do. Go to the Reddit thread, breathe some life into it, share your opinions, make some comments, whatever you gotta do, make some noise, bring that thread to life, and let's use that instead because we have no Team Liquid listing for the English Copa America stream. You'd be doing me a favor, you'd be doing Blizzard a favor, you'd be doing yourselves a favor because you bring more awesome people to chat to hang out with. For now though, Frost, okay, we see him chronoing those zealots once again. This was kind of a nifty move the first game, and it worked out primarily because his opponent played greedy. This time, that's not really the case. Silhouette's actually playing this pretty standard. The pool's already on the way. He didn't go for that quick third hatchery. And one zealot chrono boosted. Okay, that's fine. 2, not terrible. But if he goes for more than this is a huge investment that's going to get very little done, I feel. Actually, what I would love at a Silhouette is to like hatchery block the natural at this point. If Frost waits too long and he plays off of one base, this gets easier for a Zerg player who can keep his opponent on one base. Something not easily done, but a third base at the gold now. So starting to get a little bit greedy with this, but this isn't where Frost is rallied to. He checks to see there's no third down here, so this is going to go straight to the natural. But this time it's the home field advantage. This isn't like Way Station. There's not a whole mile and a half between each of these bases. It's just a couple steps. So Queens can get there to defend. Zerglings will be here pretty promptly, even without speed. And 2 Zealots can be dealt with fairly easily. But if there's more than that, something gets problematic, and a third Stalker is on the way. So again, 2 Zealot Stalker Mothership Core. We saw this in the first game. I don't think it's going to be as successful this game, but this Zealot is doing a lot of damage unhindered. And the Mothership Core will stumble upon the gold base, which might be a bit of a priority. Ooh, Silhouette actually going to go with a sick micro, keeping the lowlings back. Very important, actually, as he tries to surround these Zealots, keeping the low ones away, because he's going to need everyone for a little bit of extra damage. Now, granted, the Mothership Core is pretty much going to one-shot a good chunk of these, but with the Zealots dead, the Stalker's got to go back home. He doesn't know the timing of speed. I mean, he saw the gas, but he has no idea if it's been 100, if it's been enough. Actually, Silhouette, oddly enough, never did fully saturate this, so he doesn't have enough to go for metabolic boost. But this is a big problem for Frost. This is precisely why you don't do these sort of pokes. It delays your natural for so long, and he's building a wall off because he knows he doesn't have defenses to hold against a lot of lings. He doesn't know if there's an all-in coming or not. And the main problem is, by building all these gateways, that's your Nexus minerals right there. So, forced to disengage off this with the lings. He can actually fight, probably kill the sentry, honestly. I don't know why he's running away. And he's going to go to the main instead. Okay, actually, that's not a bad move. Might get a probe. Honestly, probably not though. You'll see that there's, is that 5 gateways? Why do you have 5 gateways? You're on one base, brother. All right, so not gonna get a lot done here. He said, you know what? Forget. I hate this pylon in particular. Doesn't get another probe kill, but honestly, if you could, I'd say cancel this this 5th gateway. You don't need 5 gates. You can't sustain 5 gates properly off of one base like this. He kind of needs to look towards taking a Nexus. The longer he waits, the worse this gets, because his opponent's on 3 bases. He's got a Spine Crawler down. He's got a gold base. He's ready to rock and roll. Drones are being transferred. Creep is being spread. And as these roaches start coming out, Frost's chances of winning this game diminish as every second goes by that he doesn't have a natural base. You can one base all in it, and there's 4 gates that still work. Freaking Violet got 4 gated on Ultraseam Stronghold to like a no-name Protoss player, so it's like, it's possible that it happens and it can be effective, but 5 gates this late, this is like there is no standard 8-minute 5 gate timing for a good reason, guys. The force fields have already pretty much been exhausted. There's like maybe 1 or 2 left. Speedlings get right on top of the sentries. Gonna make sure there's no more force fields coming out. The roaches have been kind of halted in production at the moment, actually. This is a bit of a problem here for Silhouette, who's a little bit, not mineral starved, but larva starved more than anything else. More spine cars coming down, but these are just going to buy time more than anything else. Really needs to get some more roaches in play. Supply box as well doesn't help things either. This is going to sting quite a bit as he waits for these 5 overlords to finish up. Perhaps an overcompensation, but what can you do? Alright, so actually this was kind of a cute move. This is not a bad move at a Silhouette at all. I know he's going to pick off a couple more overlords. He's going to kill the hatchery, and he should be able to get this queen alongside it. The idea of force fielding off the ramp keeps any reinforcements from the main from coming down. He can do this about 2 or 3 more times. But that being said, it's not like he really cares about that natural base. It's still going to be 2 bases to 1, and it's a whole gold base over his opponent. As long as he bides his time and waits a little bit, and Silhouette doesn't panic to engage this, this should be a good fight for him. You should probably pick up the probe before the pylon. I do like that he's moving back to the Spine Crawlers, though. He kind of recognizes he doesn't have the forces to fight. There's a couple more roaches coming from the main. No Galero Constitution makes this a lot harder to fight, of course. And a couple of force fields are going to go down, but this actually works against the Zealots more than it does against the roaches, as it's less area for them to funnel in through. But the Spine Cars go down, and this base isn't money, and in all of a second, all of a heartbeat, Silhouette's chances of winning start going out the windows. He starts bleeding out these roaches on the left side, on the bottom side. His own gold base is choking him in, and the Spine Crawler is going to complete, granted, but they're not going to stop this force. 22 links coming out, though. Those look a lot better. Those look a lot sexier. And the chances are looking a little bit better, but still, this is going to be 1 base Zerg versus 1 base Protoss. I don't think there's a lot of Zerg players who prefer to be in this scenario, but all this larva is going to pop right here, right on top of the army, so he gets connections right away. As long as he doesn't retreat too soon, he is going to focus down the sentries. Not a terrible idea, but he doesn't have enough forces to actually do this. Should have probably waited for everything to get here at the same time, rally these towards the back of the base, whatever the case may be. This is actually looking really scary for Silhouette, who's now down to 21 workers on 1 base. There's going to be even less in a moment's time, because he's got to spend drones to make those Spine Crawlers. And at this point, Frost has bought himself enough time to go build a Nexus! He doesn't have to continue with the all-in. He's done the damage he needs to do. He can push to try to win, and chances are he may even win with another push. But, I mean, it's kind of one of those safety sake things, man. You know your opponent's on 1 base. Take your own natural. Win this game 100%. But I think he's feeling very confident, rightfully so. The Spine Crawlers finishing up will help a little bit here, as these units will be funneling through a choke. Roaches and Zerglings ready to engage, same with some Queens, but the Spine Crawlers are not done in time! Literally seconds shy of being here at the right time. Roaches are kept back thanks to the force fields, and the Zealots, well, these Spine Crawlers should be focusing on the Stalkers. They're not going to do a whole lot to these Zealots, as we see. So, there's no transfuses really available. There's one! Oh, get the transfusion before you die. Goes on the Queen. This Queen can transfuse the Spine Crawler. It's not transfusing the Spine Crawler. This is looking pretty grim here for Silhouette. Now, granted, the Roaches may push this back again, but still stuck on 1 bases. Or 1 base. His worker count, of course, is lower than that of his opponents. He doesn't have appropriate gas mining going on right now. If he had a macro hatchery in the main, this might be a little bit different, but he's putting Spine Crawlers at the top of the ramp again, and this is not something you want to do, because, once again, this push will get right on top of them before they even complete, so cancels will need to be done. Snipes may go off. Yeah, he tries to go for a snipe there. If he hadn't lost the Mothership Core, he'd be continuing with the aggression just outright, guys. A big part of why he's had to halt is because he doesn't have high ground vision. So, no matter how good your Protoss army is, you can never walk into roaches up on the high ground. And the longer he waits, the Spine down. Now, we do finally have a Nexus coming up behind this. Stubborn is as stubborn does. I do wish Frost had done this earlier. Again, this is a situation where he could have catapulted ahead in a very big, efficient way, but he wanted to go for the throat. He got a little bit greedy, and it's costing him a lot of units here in the middle of the map. Back at home, he's warping in some more sentries. I don't really love the choice of zealots because he's walled himself in, so these aren't even going to be able to fight. Stalkers are still trying to do what they can. The probe is with this army, I didn't even realize. And there's so many pylons on this side of the map. There's constant warp-in threats. Silhouette is now trying to take his own natural, and we got the Mothership Core back in action, but there's too many roaches at this point. The army is done for. So for Frost, I mean, he can maybe soft contain a little bit, try and poke, disengage. But for the most part, you know, this is 5 Stalkers. It's all he's really got going for him. This isn't even going to break the spine crawlers, quite frankly. And I just, I hate to be that guy. I hate beating a dead horse, whatever the phrase is. But this Nexus should have been built so much longer ago. His income should have been spiraling out of control forever ago. 2 Queens can actually kill a Mothership Core. What is this even doing over here? Recall. Recall. You gotta recall or you're gonna die. Frost, recall! Recall your Mothership Core! No! Oh, that's painful to watch. Okay, so he loses the Mothership Core. He actually doesn't have the 100 gas to really replace this, quite frankly. Like, he's got 100 gas, but that needs to be spent on Stalkers. That needs to be spent on Sentries. Even Immortals, actually, even more importantly than either of those 2 units. But creeping in here is Silhouette, looking to perhaps poke if given the opportunity, but I don't think the opportunity is necessarily going to present itself. I guess while we're on a bit of a downtime here, let's talk a little bit about Copa America while we wait, guys. Copa America is a $15,000 tournament sponsored and put on by Blizzard. Pretty awesome. We basically have 4 qualifiers we're going to be going through every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So we've already gone through 1 qualifier. We got 2 more. Then we start the group stages, which is going to be pretty awesome. And of course, the qualifiers give a chance for a lot of the players like Frost and Silhouette, who may not be your typical grandmasters, who might not be your typical IEM champions, to have a chance to shine and promote themselves, and maybe have you fall in love with them. Maybe you hate them after this series. Maybe you love them. Whatever the case may be. That's the wondrous thing about Copa America. It builds a community. Season 1 was limited so heavily to the Latin communities only. There was no North American involvement outside of that. And they did a great job of establishing themselves. You saw the Portuguese streams, the Spanish streams, the Brazilian streams really pump up their players. I only really know about Copa America. It didn't have a lot of English coverage in Season 1, but I knew about it because my friends Nostalgia Talix and Argy were casting it. This season, I guess they were unavailable, or I don't know what the case is, but they invited me and Zombie Grub to cast, or Zombie Grub and I, and I'm pretty happy about that. The only reason Zombie Grub's not here tonight, guys, she'll be here like every other night with me. The only reason she's not here tonight, though, was because we weren't given a schedule for this, and they were kind of like, hey, guess what, we're casting this week, and we're like, oh, well, I can, but Zombie Grub had plans for Friday, so every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, you will see us here in the future. This is the only day I should be solo casting this. And, yeah, Copa America, I'm looking very forward to this whole season. There's some really talented players in this. I mean, quite frankly, you look at the brackets. You can see, if you look at exclamation mark brackets in Twitch chat, if you're watching this live, if you're watching a VOD, too bad, so sad, it'll link you. You hit the qualifier number 2. You can even see the qualifiers 3 and 4. They already have the brackets set up and seated. But anyways, you finally have an attack going off in a big way. Force Fields are going to keep a majority of these roaches out, and he doesn't need a lot of them. Spinecrawler is going to fall here pretty quickly as well. The Immortal Fire is just so hard to deal with. The damage these deal is too intense. It's like 50 a shot. No kidding, guys. So as we see the Spinecrawler start diminishing here very quickly, actually, hold the phone. Beautiful transfuses by Silhouette a little more time. Now, he did try and get a gold base back up while this is going on, and right now, Frost does not know about it. Oh, God, it's like an island base. Ugh. It's like an island base on map number 1 all over again. 32 links coming out there should be able to deal with this pretty effectively. If he force fields off the ramp, that will cut out a significant amount of them. But burning 2 force fields for a ramp? That's a bad start to this. You only need 1. Force fields are going to keep a lot of these links from connecting until it's too late. The roaches don't stand a chance. Silhouette is starting to bleed out. We got drones being pulled into this. The Mothership Core does go down, worth noting, but there's so many units that just... I don't know that he can deal with this. Frost's army is looking to be a little too big. The resources lost is really not looking good for Silhouette either, and Frost is looking like he's about to lock down game number 1. Or game number 3, rather, and series number 1, sorry. GG is going to be called with a tap out. Frost will take it. Ladies and gentlemen, 2-1, I present to you our round 1 winner. We're probably like over halfway through round 2 at this point, but your round 1 winner